And since we don't know what the future looks like, we're also counting on our younger airmen coming in to be innovative and creative, so that if we're put in a situation where we don't have what we need, we're able to think outside the box and create something out of nothing. Welcome back to Blacksnake Bytes. I'm your host, Tech Sergeant Kathleen LaCorte. Today in the studio, we have with us two outstanding Blacksnakes assigned to the 122nd Fighter Wing Force Support Squadron. Master Sergeant Natalie Sonner, she's the Sustainment Flight Chief, and Technical Sergeant Chris Wilkinson, and he's the Fitness NCOIC. So excited to have you guys to share our conversation with the Blacksnake family and all of our listeners, because I feel like services is the heartbeat of the 122nd Fighter Wing, and this is a rare opportunity to kind of pull back that curtain and just kind of show everyone what it is that keeps us going behind the scenes every day. It keeps us alive, sustained, and ready to fight, fly, fight, and win. And there's so much that I've learned personally just talking to both of you, and I'm really excited to kind of share this with all of our listeners. Did you guys want to kind of share how you joined the 122nd Fighter Wing and the Air Force and services?
Yeah, so I joined the military back in 2012. I actually started out on the Army Guard side with being a truck driver.
Okay.
And then I didn't like doing drills. I kind of like doing my own thing. So my goal was to learn as many jobs and other stuff besides just doing my drill weekend.
Yeah.
So with truck driving, I also picked up cook on the Army side, and then I also helped out with fueling. And then I picked up honor guard. So I did funerals for probably a year. And then I also did what we have a Patriot flight for the Air Guard. That was pretty nice, teaching high school kids mostly what the military is in the background. And I love doing that. And then for 2 years of my 9 years in the Army Guard, I did recruiting assistant. So like I mentioned, I tried getting out of the drill as much as possible because the Army Guard, unfortunately, we would show up every day and they would be at like, we have so much important things to do, make sure we get this and this done. And you're getting there about 6 to 7 in the morning, and then we're literally sitting there doing nothing.
Hip pocket training?
Yes. And you just don't feel like you're having value. You really don't matter.
Yeah.
I learned a lot in Army Guard, so I was very happy for doing it. Sleeping outside gets old after a while. So I was ready for a change, and I wanted to look at options. So I was either going to get out or join the Air Guard, and luckily the 122nd was hiring. So services wasn't my first option. I was kind of looking at what I could do for the base, and I was like, do I want to be a truck driver? And luckily, with experience working with people and finance for over a decade, I like working with people, different personalities. That's kind of like my calling, my niche. So I've been lucky to have that experience. And services was kind of intimidating because you walk in, you see this group of people all looking at you like, hi, I'm new, I'm from the Army. And but I quickly was accepted, and that's honestly my favorite thing about services because it's really a family. And I'm lucky to have that same experience on the civilian side with my job, working with family, with different people, with different backgrounds. So start out, you will have to cook in the services. So all of our newer airmen, you have to get upgrade training, which upgrade training is just, you have, once you join the military, every rank you obtain, you have new training and new goals and stuff you have to accomplish to be able to get promoted again.
Right.
So I did my cooking, and at the time, Master Sergeant Hopper was like, hey, you know finance. Hey, you know computers. You want to be our storeroom person? I'm like, what is that? So I was like, yes, I guess. So what it is, we have a storeroom program within services that you're basically managing the inventory.
Okay.
And the way the government is, you have to spend the money they give you, but you don't overspend because then you'll be in trouble. So your goal is trying to break even. So monitoring the food coming in and out, with receiving it into the system, entering all the items one by one into the computer can be very time consuming, and especially on a drill weekend when you're getting bombarded with everything in the kitchen, people coming in and out can be a lot to manage. So it's not necessarily you want someone that's just good with computers, but you have to have that people skills
Right.
to be able to communicate. And then you're also assisting our dining facility in CRIC with the food ordering and making sure what is working now will work next month with getting those products in and getting the oldest items issued out and receiving the new items. And then I was lucky enough that the fitness program opened up, and Master Sonner selected me for that. And I honestly told her, whatever job you want me to do with services, I'll do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me. And I like fitness, and the hardest part that would be for some people, they assume, oh, you're just working out the base the whole time and having people do push-ups. At least that's what my civilian job's like. Oh, you're going to work us out? I'm like, no, that's not everything I do. As the fitness NCRIC for the base, you're mostly in charge of is everyone else, which they're currently UFPMs on the base, operating their own fitness program with their commanders correctly and following those guidelines. That's the biggest niche. And then how are you with the computer and keeping track of everything? Unfortunately, that's been an issue that we've had with people not being able to do both, communicate to different units and different people what you want them to do correctly while keeping track and recording everything into the computer.
Yeah.
So that can be a challenge because it's a lot of data entry and keeping track of these people are current, these people are not current, they need to do this, they need to do that, especially when you are at DSG and you're only there on drill weekend. You have to be careful with your time and use it wisely because you can get distracted by people calling, emailing, coming in. Maybe there's a meeting you have to go to, so you have to stop what you're doing
Right.
to show up for that.
There's only limited time.
Yes,
For
yes,
everyone.
there's limited time, and people don't know on drill weekends the computers tend to not work.
Yes.
We're also the help desk.
Yes.
So
Yes.
when you're trying to navigate the fitness program, but yet you're getting emails and phone calls to help them with their fitness program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot. It sounds like a lot of logistics too.
It is a lot
lot
of
of-
planning ahead because we're looking at mass fitness tests. All right, it's the winter season. If the weather is a certain way, people can opt in on not actually doing the fitness test. I will say on the Army side, I don't know if they didn't have any guidelines because I remember doing a fitness test in the snow, in the rain. They didn't care what the weather was. You were running your 2 miles. And then people smoking cigarettes to finish that 2 mile run. I remember that. So
Yes.
joining the Air Guard was kind of funny to me. I remember actually making a joke. I'm like, I thought this was the Air Guard. Don't we have someone doing the fitness test for us? Like, wow, you guys have it so nice.
I do feel you though on the I used to be Army as well. And man, my life improved in so many ways when I
Yes.
switched to the air side. I can't even tell you. Yeah.
Feeling valued was the biggest thing for
Yes,
me.
yes.
And actually having a purpose and impact and people listen to what you have to say.
Yes.
I'm not trying to hate on the Army because it was good for me. But I say if you want to make the military career and retire, the Air Force or Navy is probably your best
Yes.
option.
I feel like spending time in the Army, and I love the Army too. There's so many cool things that you learn.
Yes.
I think it's just a different segment of the military that it instills different skill sets and different ways of thinking, mentality. But having that experience early in your career and then switching to the Air Force, I think is really cool because You just appreciate the Air Force for what it is so much more.
You do, yeah. And I go back and try to convince some of my friends, and they don't believe you. They're like, "You're lying. It's not that nice." It's almost like a business atmosphere in the Air Force, the way you communicate. Yes, we joke around. Yes, we have fun. In services, we always say we work hard and play hard. So you have to be able to put different hats on. You have to still show up to work. You still have meetings and people you need to address and talk to. But at the same time, camaraderie with working together and having fun is big as well.
Right. And it's really interesting. It kind of amazes me how much guardsmen can accomplish on a drill weekend compared to what active duty does.
Yeah, we talk about the different hats that you might wear in a standard on a drill weekend, because one minute you might be supporting the kitchen, and then the next minute you're accepting a phone call to support lodging with a hotel discrepancy, and then the next thing you know, someone needs assistance with a fitness test, or you get a phone call for an MWR event that might be happening that, you know, they need supplies for or funding for. So in a standard day, you know, you don't physically put on different hats, but you feel like, you know, you are putting on different hats to support all the different programs. So we are definitely naturally multi-capable airmen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel the pressure to be a SME, subject matter expert, but you don't have to be. You have to know enough to be in services to get by with all the programs. And that's why we have program managers, because their goals, they be the SME of that. But it's good for all of our airmen to know enough to be able to be plugged in and out, because unfortunately people may have to miss a drill, people retire. So being able to have multiple people trained at every program, that's where we try and rotate every couple years, is huge. Now, unfortunately, with our biggest issue right now, we have so many new and young airmen that need to get trained at the kitchen that we don't have enough trained in all the programs yet. So unfortunately, in the next couple of years, we're having a lot of people retire as well. So right now is the challenging part, to get everyone else up to speed enough so when they do retire or leave, we're not crashing and burning. We can have that handoff to the next person.
It's exciting having that new blood come in, though.
It is, yeah.
One of the reasons we also try to make sure that all of our airmen are proficient in the areas is because something that's unique about services, when we deploy, we don't know what our job is going to be until we arrive. And so other career fields, you might, if you're a photographer, then you're probably going to be a photographer when you get overseas. Whereas our airmen, they don't find out until they get there, and then they find out, oh, you're going to be in charge of the lodging or, you know, fitness. And so it kind of gives them a little bit of anxiety not knowing what their job is going to be. So try to, what we can do to support them is just making sure that they're comfortable, like he had said, in those areas. They know enough that they could get by if they needed to, and kind of learn on the fly. And you're never alone too. That's the great thing about services, is we do everything together as a team, which also naturally generates that family concept. So we support each other, we encourage each other, we educate each other, because we know at the end of the day, you know, we want to make a good impression, so that people request us by name.
I made a list of all of the, a broad categories of responsibilities that you guys are responsible for. Food being one, lodging, fitness, morale, welfare, and recreation, mortuary and honor guard, child care, unofficial activities and private organizations. And there's, I'm sure, several that I'm missing, but that's a lot of responsibility that you guys cover for the base. And I know I didn't know personally all of that you covered.
The question kind of came up, you know, you've been in 20 years, you know, what did it look like 10 years ago?
Yeah.
What did it look like when you first came into services? The one thing that I'll say is we have come a long way, and, you know, our programs have evolved, which is good. But with that comes more manpower and
training,
resources and training. Yeah.
in time.
So it's impressive, and it's an honor and a blessing to say that we manage all the different areas.
Mm-hmm.
But with that comes the added training and the added manpower, and the added pressure to our airmen to be proficient and knowledgeable in all those areas, so that if someone's sick or if someone's deployed, whatever it might be, I can count on any of my airmen to take that phone call and support whoever's on the other side.
Master Sergeant Sonner, you've been in services for a lot of time and you have so much experience. So what was your experience like coming into services in the Air National Guard?
Yeah, so I joined in 2005. So I just celebrated 20 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, I've been full-time for about 16 years.
Okay.
I started off, we call it the guard bum. So I did some time in retention and recruiting. I worked down in Airmen and Family Readiness. And then I was hired full-time in services. So I did 10 years in services, and then I transitioned over to personnel for a couple years. I was the IPR, and then when the flight chief position came available, then I decided that it was best for the 122nd for me to head back over to what I call home, and become the flight chief, because we had a lot of new airmen coming in. And so it was important to have that continuity. Mm-hmm. So I joined the military for college benefits. I had graduated and I had started college and realized it was very expensive and I didn't have the funds to pay for it. I didn't even know that this base existed. I'm from Decatur, a small town outside of Fort Wayne. And so I was excited to join. I didn't know anything about the military. We like to talk about when I first joined and went to boot camp and all the luggage that I brought with me, because I had no concept of what boot camp was going to look like. So I quickly learned. So yeah, I've been blessed. I've deployed 3 times. My first deployment, I was in food. But I was management, so I worked alongside the contractors and civilians in a flight kitchen as a senior airman. And then my second deployment, I was protocol. So that is something unique to services. We don't typically do protocol, but it is one of our areas that we could be called upon. And if we are assigned to that, there's a schooling that we have to go to. So I really enjoyed that because I might be a little OCD, and it takes a lot of that to be in protocol. You do a lot of events, promotions, change of command, just all the things. So I really enjoyed my time overseas doing that.
That is a very high-pressure job, too, isn't it?
Yes. But, I think the skills that I learned from services, like we talk about being multi-capable, thinking outside the box, always being creative, it helped me excel in the protocol area. And then my third deployment was QA. So we were in an area where we were in charge of contractors, and they were actually running all the functions of services, which is what we're finding the way forward. We're seeing that a lot of the places our airmen are deploying to, they have to be proficient in what we do, but then they have to oversee and watch civilians do those jobs. And so it's a lot more
That's
management.
A lot of responsibility.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah. I will tell you, time flies. It doesn't feel like it's been 20 years, and so that's what I always tell my airmen. I didn't think that I was going to go past 6, and here I am. But it also goes back to what the base has created. There's a reason that people stay to 20 and past 20, and the ones that don't want to leave, because the 122nd does a really good job at creating a space that people don't want to leave.
Why do you think that is? You've been here for a while, kind of seen the inside track of it all.
We kind of talked about it a little bit, but just the family environment that the 122nd creates. I talk to my team more than my family at this point, and I see them more, and my office is pretty much my home because we're
Right.
So I think that they've just done a really good job of. They make us feel valued and important, and a lot of times you don't see that.
Good question for you, maybe. I'm curious, like, how did services when you first joined the Air Force look like, and what does it look like now, and what will it look like in the future, you think?
It used to be very common for us to go to a bear base, and we had to build it up. And so we were very proficient in going to Silver Flag and just learning how to build a base from the bottom up, and establishing our food operations and the lodging and some fitness. Fast forward 10 years, the middle of my career, it was more, we had to know a lot about management and quality assurance and contracts, because most of our jobs were contracted out. And so the biggest barrier, or the biggest struggle for us, was we had to teach our airmen how to be managers at a very young age, because you're going to be managing contractors. And now, where do I see us in the future? Like, we're going back to bare bases, and so we have to go back to the basics of.
Oh, that's really interesting. So would you say it's more of a combat focus of bare bones combat?
Not all the luxuries that we currently are used to when we deploy.
Right.
And getting back to the bare essentials.
That's super interesting.
In deployed locations, services often builds operations from the ground up, which is where we teach our airmen to set up the tents. The ability to rapidly establish and sustain the base is very necessary when we talk about the new austere environments that we might be in.
Right.
My first year over here, I was amazed because Master Sergeant Hopper challenged all of us to basically make your own base. And I was so nervous about failing and not doing good, but I also learned so much. It was so much detail. You're like, oh, set up a base. Well, this looks cool. That looks cool. Let's do that. Let's do that. And there was so much to it that I just never realized. And you don't want to set up stuff too close to the airstrip. Unfortunately, unloading bodies is part of it, and where you're going to place people at, and where people eating at and sleeping at. And maybe it's a high hostile environment, how close and far apart everything needs to be. And that was really eye-opening. I'm like, wow, there's a lot to this. Like, do you really want people hiking all the way over here to just wash their clothes? Well, how many laundromat and facilities do you need? And you have someone that's in charge of the lodging, and where is everyone going to be at, and how many beds are you going to fit in each building? Is that enough buildings?
Square footage of each
just
person's
like,
authorized, how much
so much to
laundry. You don't want to put the fitness tent next to where people might be sleeping, right?
Yeah.
Where's the club and the gym going to be for extra activities outside your workday?
Right.
So
Because everyone's working 24-hour operations, so like we have to consider a lot of things that you wouldn't.
That's a really cool exercise. I'd probably fail that exercise.
Oh, I was so intimidated, but looking back, I'm very thankful that he did that. Yeah, because it's stuck with me today, because I was not prepared. I was like, wait, what? And even when you dive into one little program that we have, like the mortuary side, there's so many details of how you have to have everything set up with the freezers and the tables. I'm like, what?
Yeah, we talked about the characteristics that you would need if you wanted to join services this morning. And you definitely have to, you're a multitasker, and you have to be creative, and you have to be resilient. Some of the other qualities that...
Yeah, being able to work with different personalities, backgrounds, civilian and military personnel at the same time. And sometimes you have to stop what you're doing and always be thinking ahead, not just live in the present moment.
problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
We work with civilian entities as well. So to be in services, we have our contractors, choice services that are in the kitchen with us. But then in the lodging program, we work with all the local hotels. So all the managers of the hotels. In fitness, we work with the YMCA, we work with Turnstone, and we work with Indiana Tech to use their facilities. And so you also have to be well-versed in working with the community and customer service.
A lot of people skills, it sounds like.
Yes.
When I was a young airman and I first deployed, we were working in the kitchens. We were the ones preparing the food alongside, the civilians, the OCNs. And then my second and third deployment, we are now the managers, and we don't touch any of the food. We don't touch any of the fitness facilities, even the lodging. And so how do we get our airmen into that mindset? Even you might just be an A1C or a senior airman, but you're expected to be a general manager, and you oversee a facility and all the workers in there, quality assurance. And so maybe for us, what I see in the future is our schools are going to be changing into, instead of, maybe we're going to learn a little bit about each of those areas, but then highlight and focus on management and QA.
Yeah. So when you're straight out of school and you're thrown right into the kitchen basically to cook for the base, is that how it works?
That's exactly how it works, yeah, in the active duty and in the guard.
That's a lot of pressure.
Which
for
we don't
new
leave you
airmen.
out there, just to fend for yourself. You do have a mentor and that's with you, and you're being guided. But at the same time, you will be challenged to be put on different types of products so you can continue to grow. We show up probably the earliest on the base. You start cooking, and then maybe during your cooking, you have to go see medical for different appointments or different other stuff you have to do outside of the cooking process. And then you're serving the food and then cleaning up the food, and then you have computer stuff to do. So you're countlessly staying busy, and you have to be careful with your time management during that whole process. Doing it every day.
Right.
Or when we talk about the manpower, right? On drill weekends, I have a team of, 20, 30 people, and then during the week it goes down to 2 of us. But the expectation is sometimes still there when our customers call and they want support in all those different areas.
Yeah. And it's a challenge when you have, 20 people, but then 5 of them are in upgrade training doing a test or a medical appointment, and they're out or coming in and out. So it's like, and then you have everyone who's operating a program like fitness or accounting. Well, then now you only have 8 people.
Right.
So it's not all of us are there cooking in the kitchen. Yes, we can if needed, but we're doing other things at the exact same time of the cooking operation.
Yeah, the expectation used to be when you were at school that one airman should be able to provide an entire meal for 100 people.
Wow.
So the guard, we do try and, because we have a lot of new airmen that are only in the kitchen once a month versus active duty, like he mentioned, they're going to be in the kitchen every day. We do try to supply the kitchen with some veterans who can mentor those young airmen.
Yeah, 1 to 100, that's pretty intense.
I think it's a good harp imaging. You start out in the kitchen, you learn, but you will grow and move out of the kitchen eventually.
Right.
If it's a right fit. So.
Yeah, and they've evolved too. When we talk about what our airmen are learning when they go to our tech school, they used to spend more time in the kitchen learning the basics, but they've had to get away from that because we've grown so much in all of our areas. So what we're finding for us, though, it's when the airmen get home, we have to teach them the basics, and it's taking longer in our kitchen to do that, especially because we really appreciate that we have so many customers at the 122nd, but it also creates an added layer of complexity for our airmen to make the quantities of food that they've never made before. And
a lot
oh,
of
by the
pressure.
way, right. And oh, by the way, like, you can't burn any of it. And we
Right.
need you to make, the correct amount of portions so that our storeroom and our dining hall, NCOIC are staying within tolerance. We appreciate that everybody loves our Blacksnake burgers and fries, and we would love to just completely serve that.
Yeah.
But we also, a term that we use in our kitchen is the go for green. So we're expected to also, a percentage of our meal has to be healthy, which is considered the green area.
Okay.
And then you have the yellow area that's, more moderately, and the red. So unfortunately, our Blacksnake burgers and fries would be considered a red area. So we have to make sure that we're balancing it out on the main line. So I know that question comes up a lot of times that
Yeah.
we don't have enough burgers and fries for the entire base, but unfortunately, we're not able to provide that.
I know the food guidelines just changed. Was it yesterday or the day before or something like that? Did you see that? They pushed
did.
out. It's
For the Air Force?
No,
No,
for the government, the pyramid.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, I didn't get a
They
copy of
basically
that.
flipped it, like grains
Yeah.
and stuff are at the bottom, meat and veggies are on the top.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, that's interesting. I wonder if eventually it'll trickle down to the service, the military services. Like now, this is
I
considered
was
green
wondering
or whatever.
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Which, I don't know what we did in the Army. I mean, I was with the infantry unit, so we did a lot of field cooking.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go in our mobile kitchen units and cook out of there. So it's totally different actually having a kitchen and we'll make this and this will be green and make this display plate and make it look pretty. We didn't
Yeah.
do any of that. We just put everything in these to-go containers. Each first sergeant or commander would show up, pick up the food item, take it to the range. You're eating it, but I don't care if it's cold.
It looks like horse slop by the time it gets there.
Yes, it looks horrible. And then all we're doing is just waiting for them to return the containers so we can clean it.
Right.
So there's
Get
no
ready for the next meal.
veggie option. There was no other ooh, look how pretty this is. This is what you're getting. If you want to eat, you eat.
Yeah.
Or you better buy your own food. So that was, very entertaining. It wasn't, this is what you get, live with
Right.
it, move on.
Yeah.
So.
But the health of the airmen really is tied to the food that you guys make. They say that your fitness is made 90% in the kitchen, so that's huge. So it's a huge responsibility
Right.
that you guys have with feeding and providing nutrition for the force.
Another function that happens in our kitchen that you might not know about on drill weekends is public health makes a visit over. And so on top of the stress that we're putting on our airmen to prepare the food for the base, you now have inspectors coming in your space to make sure that,
And that happens every drill?
not every drill, but they also have airmen that they're training.
Okay.
And so it's supposed to be random, so we're not expecting it.
Right.
The things that they're looking at are safety, sanitation. So they talk to our storeroom, quality of our food, who is it sourced from,
Yeah.
those types of question. When they're looking at the line, they want to see, is our food up to temperature? How long has it been out? Those types of questions. So our airmen are expected to be proficient in those questions. They all are actually ServSafe certified. So that's something that they can also use on the civilian side
Okay.
that the military pays for. And that's in every 5-year training. So.
Wow. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. How does the career field of services transfer into the civilian side? And I'm sure there's so many ways that it transfers. I can't even probably name them all, but.
Yeah, I would say if someone's wanting to get a civilian side, this is huge when you're looking at bigger kitchens, a mom pop shop, kitchen, probably not. But if you're looking at pushing out bigger quantities of meals, that's exactly what we do. We're not doing specialized orders and making multiple different things at the same time. we have a select like 3 or 4 things you're making, but you're making it for so many people. So
Right.
that can transition. I mean, if you watch Hell's Kitchen like I do, we just had someone that was in the services in the Air Force. Yeah, he didn't make it all the way, but he made it pretty far. So I'm just
super
saying, with that experience, it can transition. It's a different mindset.
When we talk about, what the Army was fed and the expectations the Air Force has, it's a blessing, but it also is an added layer of stress for our airmen to prepare that type of quality of food. I do wish that the Guard could send more airmen. So the active duty has a program where they're able to send some airmen to the CIA, which is the Culinary Institute of America. And I was blessed with the opportunity to go when I was a senior airman because they had some extra seats. And it was neat to just go into that environment. And we have chef coats that we wear in the military, similar to the civilian.
Wow, that's so cool.
So when we went to the schoolhouse, the instructors at the CIA thought that we were at their level. So it was one of those situations that a lot of fake it till you make it.
Right.
When they provide you with these complex recipes that you're supposed to prepare, and I need you to go out into the community, into the farm, and gather up your supplies and prepare this meal for the instructors and be graded. So we had to be quick on our feet because we were also in a classroom full of the students, the civilian students. And we also had to at least appear that we were advanced because we also wanted to make the Air Force look good.
Right, yeah. It sounds like the opportunity of a lifetime, but also
it
kind
really
of stressful.
It really was. So coming back with that knowledge and experience was neat to see that. I'm glad that we offer that to our airmen, and it'd be neat to see us be able to offer that to more of the Guard and Reserve.
How many weeks is that normally?
We were there for 2 weeks.
Okay. That's so cool.
Just it was a small sampling of what they go through, but.
What kind of dishes did you make while you were there?
So every day we studied a different country.
Oh, okay.
So we would learn about that country, and then, we would have to go out into the community and source all the products that we would need, pricing, we would have a budget, so, and then we would come back and prepare that food.
It's crazy.
So,
which is kind of appropriate. I've always wondered about this when you deploy. Do you have to go out onto the local economy to shop for the food, to make the food? Is that something that ever happens?
Yeah, and when we talk about, where was services, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and where are we now, that is a skill set that's now necessary for our airmen because we are going to locations that might not have that established already, and so they're counting on us to create those relationships with the community or find locations that have the food available for our airmen to eat.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to talk about was for people listening to the podcast who are not in the military, maybe thinking about it, and just encourage them to do their research because, like I mentioned earlier, I was this close on joining the Marine Corps, and then I ended up joining the Army Guard for my family not knowing much about it, and now I'm in the Air Guard. Look at all the different branches out there, if it's Coast Guard, Navy, Marines, they all have a purpose, and find out what you truly want to do in the military. When you go to MEPS and you get cleared, or maybe you're doing the ASVAB test, you don't have to sign on the dotted line unless it's something you truly want to do.
And like you said, when you're looking to select a job, you don't always have to select, whatever your civilian career is or what you aspire to be. Sometimes it's better to pick something completely opposite because then when you come to drill, it's kind of a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
So I'm fully aware that services is not always your first or anyone's first selection, but I think that we've done a pretty good job of creating that environment that once we can get them in, they typically stay. So
Yeah, I'm actually impressed how many opportunities there are just within services, though. And I wasn't aware of that. And I'm like, wow, that is a lot of opportunity. You may not even have to step outside of services to just broaden all of your skill sets. I mean, there's a lot of skill sets contained within services.
I was lucky enough that Master Sonner and Master Myers picked me up to do temp teching out here for a year, so that just ended past September. And that really got my name out there for networking. So if that's something you want to do, maybe you want to go on the other side of tracks, we call it. That's something you can do. And if you're good at your job, other people will notice, and that will get your name out there. So if it's not, services isn't the choice for you, and you're stuck with services for some reason, you feel that way, give it your all, show up every day, and try to build up your name to network elsewhere. Because if you're talking to people when they walk in and they need something and you're there actually helping them, they'll remember your face and your name.
I like that. And maybe that's also another reason why the Blacksnake community is so much like family, because it's small enough that the other parts of the base are so accessible, you know, and so there's so much opportunity. You don't have to leave the base. You can go across the tracks, like you said, and work with aircraft or do intel or maintenance or something. There's so many opportunities, and, you know, networking is a huge thing.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately coming from the Army Guard, like every shop per se, you would be stuck at one location. So I was in Fort Wayne and Elkhart. I couldn't go to another maintenance or this side of the house because they were in Indy or Muncie. We would just want to see them. You want to connect. So I never knew what other people did in the military or how their life was. I only knew what I did and how my job was going. So that's the amazing thing with actually being in a base. I get to see how other people operate and what they think. And plus, listening to the Blacksnake podcast, you get to learn.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah, I think every day's an interview.
Yes,
it's
good.
always important to pay it forward because you never know when you're going to need to cash in that favor. So I think that's the biggest thing that we try to stress to our airmen, you know, with each interaction of the Blacksnakes that walk in our building.
So.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a perfect way to wrap it up. Puts a good bow tie on.
It made me cry.
So thank you for listening, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. We talked about how much you guys cover, and I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to talk to us and explain all the wonderful things that services does for the 122nd Fighter Wing. So thank you so much. And we may revisit this again for part 2 because there's so much here that we could break down, and I think it would be really interesting to our listeners. So,
yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
thanks so much.
This is the official podcast of the 122nd Fighter Wing. Views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect the views of the 122nd Fighter Wing, Air National Guard, or United States government. No endorsement of any person or business is ever intended.